welcome everybody to the comic panel. I'm Cody.
I'm Talon.
I'm Jacob.
And I'm Shawenta.
And today we are discussing Little Bird by its Darcy
Van Poelgeest.
Darcy Van Poelgeest. Yeah, and it has art by
Ian Betron.
So we are.
Oh my! I just had it.
Okay. Actually, okay, it's got Ian Bertram and Matt Holland, or Ian, yeah, Ian Bertram and Matt Hollingsworth.
Mm-hmm. And this is published by Image Comics.
Yeah. So, yeah, what did we think about this? Anyway, you want to start off? I think that okay, sorry. I basically I'll start off then. I think that for me, like, I wanted to talk a little bit first about kind of the positives that I liked about this book because I have a few negatives. And some of those are I liked the kind of the thematic messages that it was trying to employ as far as Native American indigenous rights and kind of anti-theocracy, anti-capitalism, all of that. So yeah, that's kind of one of the main things that I did like about this book. The direction that it felt like it was trying to go.
I can see that. I'm not sure I agree 100% because maybe it's just because it's translated from French. I believe it was published in French first. Oh. And so I'm kind of caught between, is this weird and kind of unintelligible because it was published first in French and they're trying to translate it? Or is it symbology that I'm just not getting?
Can you give an example?
No. Just that, like, the overall sense of the book I got was like, so when we read Batman, Arkham Asylum, Serious House, and Serious Earth, like, I think part of the reason why, like, I got more of the symbology of that is because, like, half of the book is dedicated to, here is the script to the book, where I explain all the symbology in case, like, it all went over your head. And this book did not come with that. So maybe I'm just dumb, but I choose to believe it's because it was French first.
And that makes it a little hard for me to agree with you or not, because I guess, like, the overtness of it kind of is obvious to me. And so I don't know if what I'm picking up is what you're not.
I mean, like, there are some obvious points because, like, the big antagonists all keep carrying around their big American flags with a big cross on there instead of stars. But then, like, there's a bunch of other stuff. It's like, why are they all robots? What's the deal with the masks? Why is there, like, a weird Captain America Canada who is unkillable until they're not?
Right.
I don't understand, like, all that part where it's like, this person can survive all this, like, impossible stuff. Except for fire, I guess?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's really easy to say, like, it's symbolic. You just don't get it. It's symbolic. I don't know. I guess I also come into comics hoping for, like, a solid foundation to build off of, to understand, like you're saying, like, understanding the limits of the characters, understanding whether this is an alternate world, whether this is supposed to be a world built upon our world that's just branched off in crazy directions. I can definitely feel like certain other artists, or not artists, writers' influences. Like, I think the guy who did Ghost in the Shell, Shiro Masamune, soup has lots of tentacles, has lots of crazy technology, and sometimes very strong religious villains, entities, corporations that are religious. Like I'm thinking of
Mm-hmm.
Orion, not just Ghost in the Shell. He did. Um, so I totally feel the influence of that. But he also like spends huge swaths of like pages going like, well, you want to understand how our magic works, well, it works like this. And just like, I'm not saying I liked those parts because oh my god, walls of text. But if you ever like finish the book and you're like, okay, how did that work, you could go back and read those pages, and even though it's translated from Japanese, like you could understand what he was building everything off of. Like his whole thing was just there if you wanted to like delve into it. But in this, like, yeah, there's nothing in the back of the book to like go through it. But I do think that a work should usually also just stand on its own. Like that should
Mm-hmm.
add to it, but not just half. You don't need that to hold your hand.
Yeah, it's like, I think I've heard like in creative writing, different kinds of things. I've heard of like soft magic and hard magic,
Mm-hmm.
and like I feel like this was going for a soft magic system where it's like essentially that would be, you don't have to explain how magic works in this world. It's just kind of evident,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not evident. They did it poorly. is the best way I can say it. At least in my opinion.
So my response to that is that, and I'm not 100% sure how much this is conjecture, but I remember reading about that the giant, like, Canadian Captain America,
Yeah, he's called the Axe.
yeah, the axe, was the axe and Little Bird's mother and a few others were genetically engineered. And
Mm.
so to me, that ties in with what the um, the interview that I read, where they were like, theocracy was trying to create good little Christians, right? And so
Mm.
my interpretation of that was they were genetically engineered to create the perfect Christian,
Right.
but that part is a little bit of a conjecture.
So, and you're not far off from what it was. I did forget a little bit that it's technically not magic, it's science, but also
Mm-hmm.
it's like, science fiction. It's,
Yeah.
but it is based in genetic modification over like, pure magic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yes, I think they just, yeah, I think that they weren't necessarily supposed to be like the perfect Christians, and I also think that it was like, essentially they might have said perfect Christian but meant perfect soldier,
Yeah. Yeah.
um but I think that it was maybe like they were just part of the test. And also
Mm.
I think that the little bird and little bird's mother may not have actually been tested on. Maybe they were, I don't know, but I think that like I would think that they got their invulnerability powers uh, from just being descendants of the axe,
Mm-hmm.
because the axe is Little Bird's grandfather, and uh, I don't remember Little Bird's mother's name. I just yeah
Just call her mother most of the time.
yeah
It's
Tantu.
and two.
yes,
Yeah, it gets very complicated towards the back end of the book,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
with all of the who's related to who
big
and who is like
reveals.
pretending to be related to who. But it's like maybe like to circle back a little bit, like about that scene when they like reveal that that's like the axe is genetically engineered. Like I kind of like maybe I misinterpreted it, but I read it as like this was a genetic like experiment done by like the previous uh like reigning whatever that this uh government overthrew, and now they're
Uh,
going through and like getting rid of them. So maybe I misinterpreted that. But like,
Ah.
if that is the case, like, I kind of want to know, like, if somebody else created them, I want to know, like, to what purpose were they created? Like, was it just to go against? Does this like weird organization even get a name?
Well,
Yes, the United Nations of America.
mhm. But also,
God, that's a such a generic name.
Yeah.
well, I mean, also
You just
though,
take the United States of America and the United Nations and you just put them together.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
that's so generic.
I mean, also though, they are just. I think that it's not like because the United Nations, of course, is like actually like a bunch of countries across the world, but I think this United Nations is specifically implying North America in that it's like
Mm-hmm.
Canada, the previous United States, and Mexico. Although Mexico doesn't get any time to shine at all. Um, but that's kind of what I felt like the implication was. And also, it is just run by the Catholic Church, and that is like made very clear throughout the
The
story,
new
too.
Vatican.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, but then like if that's the case where it's just like North America, then like I don't remember, do we ever get like an inkling of whatever is happening to the rest of the world?
No, not
No.
at all. I mean, we don't even get to see Mexico, like I said. We don't know anything.
I should
Uh,
say um the very end of the last book, of course, they're like, and as you probably can tell, this is the end of Little Bird, but not was it even the beginning? Is it actually the end? Anyway, read our next book. So they have
hmm.
another book that's possibly in the same universe that continues on. Um,
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I feel like I saw a headline for an article when I was researching this book a little bit that said that there's the possibility that a sequel could be coming out this year,
Mm.
but it's still unsure as far as I know. Um,
Gotcha.
I mean, the main problem is I like normally when books this one had a lot of prose in it and like a lot of narration that comes back and is supposed to like every beginning of the book has certain narration that it typically like finishes with the same narration and it's supposed to be like, oh, now you see like what we were saying because it's come true in like the story or whatever.
mhm.
um I mean, I didn't, but okay. uh
Mm.
the problem I had is I read through, like, I made sure to read every single bit of dialogue. I sometimes, like, with stories we read, like, you can kind of skim certain parts and just, you get the
Mm-hmm.
gist of it. And, like, but it's clear enough, everything, like, just the action and where they're going towards, what the goal for this part is, have they accomplished it, have they not accomplished it, and then keeps going. You're able to follow along. With this, I made sure I read everything. And I think that just made me more confused.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, I would kind of agree. The different the prose did not really help a lot, and yeah, this sorry, I just got to I was flipping through some of the pages and I got to the spider part. I was like,
Ugh,
oh,
don't like it.
don't
I
like it.
don't like images of spiders.
Okay. Also,
Mm.
I kind of did want to take a little bit of time and just like kind of briefly explain like all the like in context where we are. So
Mm.
Little Bird is our main character. She's a child of a uh, refugee leader of or well refugee and rebel um, establishment trying to take down the United Nations of America
Yep.
um,
The,
Catholic Church.
yeah, the United Nations of America is a theocracy
Hmm.
led by the bishop and mother something.
I think she's just called Mother, maybe, but not to be confused with Lillibird's mother.
Reverend Mother. Right.
Reverend Mother.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Um, and yeah, so and then basically Lillibird's mom tells her that to hide and she'll come back for her, but she does not come back for her. And so she has to go on a mission to find the axe who was taken captive many years ago, and then she does find him, breaks him out, and it turns out that they both have invulnerability powers and also immortality powers, but they have to go to the afterlife first and then come back.
I will say her powers are very convoluted and not really, I feel like, really explained very well. But I feel like, I mean, we don't really see the axe going to the afterlife. We only see Little Bird.
Okay, so maybe Little Bird even has more advanced powers than the axe.
I just thought that was just a cool sequence. I didn't know she was required to do it.
Well,
yeah, I'm not sure either. I thought it was a sequence as well.
Wait, what do you guys mean as a cool sequence? Like, what do you think was happening there?
I
It's just her talking to her mom. Like, she's never gonna get to talk to her mom again in the actual story. So that's their way of having her like convene with the spirits and gain guidance. Like, I don't think it's required.
Well,
I think.
Similar to that, I thought it was like a dream kind of thing.
Right. I guess I see where the words that I said. Yeah, okay. I agree. I don't think that she has to go to a spirit world necessarily, but she can technically die, is my understanding anyway. It's just that she will come back. Or at least that's what I thought. Maybe she doesn't.
I think that's
die.
more of her mother's power too.
Okay.
Rather than the axe.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. It is confusing to me, definitely, though. But yeah, perhaps she doesn't die. Perhaps she just, like, it's like she's sleeping. She can get knocked out, basically, but then still, of course, comes back very vulnerable. And probably has some sort of healing factor, too.
Yeah, I figured it was like a complicated dream. Like, I didn't read it as like she literally went to like whatever their version of like the underworld or like the afterlife is and went and talked to her mom. Like, I figured like she died or went into like whatever version of a healing coma she has and like had a dream.
Yeah.
And then the regeneration caught up and she like came back to consciousness.
Gotcha. Yeah, I guess I can agree with that interpretation pretty easily. Yeah, and then basically, yeah. So the rest of the book, basically, that's the exposition necessary to understand. I think it's her trying her best to work with the resistance and take down the theocracy and rescue her mother. And yeah, that's basically it. So yeah, kind of circling back to what we were talking about previously. Then, I think that like basically like there's a lot of the bones to have a good story here, I think, but it just like and a lot of times in like the interview that we kind of read together. Along with this book, like they described it as a passion project, and I feel like maybe they, took that a little bit too far and needed an editor or something.
Gotcha. I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's like there are good things about this book, but it's so clouded by like just confusion of what's going on in the story.
Yeah.
For sure. There's at least one big reveal that feels like it should be important, but like as I read through it, like it didn't feel important.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And it was just like it was a one-liner. It was like, oh, so that's okay. That doesn't seem.
Well, so I mean, is it okay to say what it is? I mean,
yeah.
Okay.
So the one that I'm thinking of is the reveal that the axe is her grandfather.
Oh. Okay.
Is that what you were thinking of, Jake?
That was, I guess, one of the ones that you could. As I was saying it, I was thinking of that, but then I thought of like towards the end of the book where it's like it wasn't your not daughter who you killed. It was your not son who you killed.
Mm-hmm.
And like in the narrative, it's supposed to be a cliffhanger, but like you see the guard who has a razor for some reason
Mm-hmm.
is like, why does the guard have a razor? Why do you have to shave the person that you're, doing the weird immortality, like avoiding execution on? Like, does
Well,
the hair
why do
provide
you
the
It's just a
immortality?
why do you
prisoner
need a
thing,
buzz
right?
cut? Why do you need a buzz
You
cut to join the
just
army?
you just got to be sanitary.
But then,
Yeah,
like, how do they convince that one guard to not, like, unless
He's
it's,
I'm
sympathetic to
I
the
don't
guessing
really
cause.
know
the
how
little
that
boy
last twist
did.
goes. Like, I don't understand the mechanics behind that.
Okay, that's the thing though. Like the majority of the book, like things happen and we're not really explained why. Like, oh, we found the bombs again.
Mm-hmm.
It's just 'cause I'm a good finder, and then like, oh, we snuck in because we can, because it requires it. Like, there's a lot of this happened, but not a lot of like. I think because they happen, we're supposed to be like, okay, I guess she has the capabilities of doing this, but we
Mm-hmm.
weren't told that beforehand. So
hmm
kind of learning things after everything happens is just kind of why it doesn't feel like a lot of things pay off.
yeah.
As far as like that last twist, you're saying like not son and not daughter, but like isn't he the actual father? Which is
Well,
why
I
it's
thought he was
kind of
the.
messed up, because he raised her.
Oh,
Yes.
maybe I'm.
Yeah, I think yes. That is.
Because
Wait.
Little Bird literally calls him father, like at certain parts, is like. But I
Oh,
don't know.
maybe.
It could be the
Yeah.
religious thing.
Okay, so yeah, I think no. So the
I'm pretty sure that's his actual children.
Yeah.
I,
So
Hmm.
basically, to explain a little bit more clearly, so Little Bird is the daughter of the main antagonist. Does he have a name other than father? I've forgotten it. Maybe
Bishop.
Bishop. Yeah.
Bishop. Okay.
Yeah.
So he's a bishop then.
Mm-hmm.
Um. So yeah, she is the daughter of the bishop, but he also has a son, and they were twins. And basically, when uh or Tantu, right? That's her mother's name. Tantu tried to escape from the from him and the theocracy in general and all of that with both the twins, but she got caught and she had to leave behind the boy, and so
Mm-hmm.
that's why the boy was raised in the theocracy while Little Bird was raised by her mother.
Mm-hmm. Um, I just realized something, and let's see if you guys agree. So the story in the back of the book talks about how we got here a little bit, and it was the bishop fighting the axe when he was much younger,
Mm-hmm.
like 30 something years ago.
And this is in like chapter 5, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
the bishop steals a child, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tantu,
Yeah.
and he grows up,
Yeah.
and she has two kids.
From him, yes.
Just realized that. I find that incredibly creepy.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
real
I
weird.
said that a little minute ago. I was like, yeah, the girl he raised. It's
Hmm.
not weird at all. I
Okay.
mean, they
I.
literally mentioned that in the interview where they're like, the church is known for stuff like this or something. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. So
Yeah.
I feel
Okay.
like it was
Wait.
intentional.
I heard you say that Shawenta, but there was like enough like confusion around where the little bird and her brother were. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, wait. That's who I thought you were talking about. That the bishop raised Little Bird, and I was like, I don't think so. But
Mm-hmm.
now I see what you're saying, and
Mm.
yes.
Yeah.
um.
Okay.
Yeah. So definitely a real bad guy.
And that explains why the sun is messed up. I getcha.
Well, I
Well,
mean,
yeah, but if that's why the son is messed up, then why isn't the daughter messed up? Like,
Okay,
that's not how
no.
that works.
So the sun is messed up, and like there's a huge amount of people in this city, Vatican City, that are messed up too. But he is shown to be from birth, like there's something
Yeah.
a little bit worse off about him or something.
Yeah, it
Yeah, he's
seems.
like always wearing
But
that
what do you
creepy
mean?
mask.
What do you mean like that's why he's messed up? Like it's not
Inbreeding?
like they're genetically close. That no, he's not like the bishop isn't like the son of anybody related.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
gonna
another
give
thing, like, I don't understand. Like, I get it's supposed to be, like, a dichotomy between, like, oh, this is the daughter and this is the son, but, like, did, like, the sister just steal all the regeneration juice in the womb? Like, why is the son sick all the time? Why are they talking about, like, this illness that will kill the son one day, and, like, they can't find a cure to?
It's
Like,
alleles.
what's the significance to that, though? Like, they never give the disease a name or any kind of stakes. So,
Well,
like,
do you
why
think
have the son sick at all?
It's God.
It's like to balance, like he's over here being like, God's on my side, like he approves of this, and while you have a son who's like, no, God's not on your side, like that prime example right there.
Then why am I so messed up?
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I would. If I was going to excuse it, I would think they'd just be plain genetics. One happened to get the regenerative powers, and then one didn't, and also happened to also get a genetic disease.
Oh,
It's
she
yin
got
and
all, like, one twin got all the good twin juice, and then the other twin
It
didn't
was
get
the
any of the good
first
That's
twin
what
juice.
twins do. That's what twins do. They take.
Yeah.
It's the same with like there's just so many scenes where I'm like that was really cool like and intense.
Mhm.
But also like what if it didn't go that way? Like I don't feel like there was any stakes ever set up for any most things. Most things. Like there's the scene towards the beginning where this I mean we don't know he's the son at the time, but the boy Gabriel kills Tantoon.
Mm-hmm.
What's her name? Um and we don't know what's going to happen to him if he chose not to do that. So there doesn't feel like there's a decision that's been made between doing it or not doing it, I guess, as much. Like I get
Yeah.
that it kind of makes him bad. Like he's like I don't want to do this, but his father's like, well, the bishop's like you got to do this.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta be a man that way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Men
and
do
then they try to tie that into the whole thing of like the spiders and when they're born they eat their mother and because it's the first thing they can get to hunger and all that. And I'm like, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Like
First
I
thing
get
they
that they're
understand.
trying to make a connection between them, but I don't know. I don't feel like it's explored that much or that interesting beyond being like same thing.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, other than them drawing the comparison, I barely even believe it, because it's like, that's not, like, I don't see really what they're trying to say, even.
Like, that's just not how human relationships work. Like, yeah, the spiders eat, like, baby spiders eat the mom spider because that's, like, their main source of nutrients. But, like, if babies sucked all the life out of their
Well,
mom
I
as
mean,
soon as they
that's...
were born, they would not live anymore. Like, that's just not...
Also, that's not what I meant.
Forgive
I
me
just
for
want to be
not
on...
being a spider.
I just want to be on the record that that's not where I was going. But...
Well, the
Like-
thing is, like, it's such an important like metaphor or whatever. I don't know what I would call it. The allegory maybe that they're trying to make. That like little bird literally brings it up to him. He's like, I feel really bad that I killed our mom, and little bird's like, it's only natural hunger and something like that. I'm like, what? And like, does that mean that it's only natural for like the bishop and New Vatican to like want to continue to like feed off of everyone and grow bigger and bigger or something? I don't like.
Maybe, but it's like also Tantoon didn't birth the new Vatican. Didn't create that.
Yeah, maybe it's just me trying to be too practical, but I think part of that is, like, sort of the book's fault, because, like, in issue 1, like, while Little Bird is trying to go free the axe from the weird super jail they have, which is also like not explained at all. It's like, why do they have a super jail? Why don't you
Well,
just kill all these things?
yeah,
Whatever.
that's what
Uh,
they're doing.
Well, they
so
do
like
that
they
afterwards. Once they're actually like in danger, they're like, maybe we should get rid of that giant monument we made of like supervillains against us.
there's like this little dream sequence where Little Bird is like uh relaying this parable about like how this person of the tribe turned into a wolf to like save the rest of the tribe. And then it's like, oh, now I am the wolf. And so like we see her walk off panel as a wolf. And then a couple pages later, we see her sneaking into the prison in like a wolf pelt. So I'm like, oh, so like she sees herself as the wolf, but in like practical terms, she is using a wolf pelt to like pass through undetected to a certain extent. So I'm like, okay, so like there is going to be some like magical allegory, but there will be like a practical uh like real life version that she is actually going to be using. But that's like the only time it happens in this book.
Uh, And so if we follow that like idea, like she sees herself as a wolf, so obviously like she sees herself separate from the rest of her like group and becoming worse or becoming more like the predators, like the
Right, and
people
I
they're
mean,
fighting against to like help them out. But then she never like I don't know, maybe I shouldn't be asking for more reflection in this book. But like
Oh, there's
there's
so
no
much
point
reflection.
there's no point where she's like I feel like she actually comes to terms with that. Like I'm as bad as the people I'm fighting against. She's
yeah,
happy to like claw their eyes out and she's fine with it and she seems to do fine being as violent as them.
hmm
Before we go on, take a break.
okay. All right, welcome back to the comic panel. I'm Cody.
I'm Talon.
I'm Jacob.
And I'm Shawenta.
All right, so going back to Little Bird, we were kind of so Little Bird is a 5-issue limited series comic book from Image Comics by Darcy Van
Poelgeest.
Poelgeest. Um, and so we were just talking about how the main character, Little Bird, does not suffer a lot of consequences, and also about a wolf allegory, I guess, parable, whatever, fable, that she tells at the beginning of, uh, or not at the beginning of one of these, but within the first issue. And then she sneaks into one of the or into a super prison with a wolf pellet, to draw parallels between her and the story. And I think that that could be kind of foreshadowing almost to her kinship to the bishop in the theocracy, because it's like she uses the wolf pellet to sneak into the uh, the prison, undetected, and in the story, the person from the tribe shapeshifts into a wolf in order to ward off the wolves that are attacking them. So by showing her being able to shift into, like what, or her, by comparing her to the wolf that shapeshifts, they're saying that there is a connection to her and the people that are against the tribe, essentially. And so I wondered if that was foreshadowing, basically, to that eventual fate without her even knowing it, even though it was like, oh, well, actually, no, she's writing the book at the end of the series, so I guess it would make sense that she'd know that by then. Yeah, so that was kind of my thought on it. That, like, yeah.
I mean, it could be. I'm not going to say it isn't,
Well, I mean,
but
do you think it's likely? Oh, that's.
I think it's likely. I'd say I'd like it to be more complete. Like I think it'd be really interesting if they had a part where she pretended to give in to them and like hide among them.
Yeah,
But
I agree with that.
Yeah, that or like if there was more wolf imagery that like would easily come to mind, then I think that would be also a good case for that. But
Mhm.
like, man, it's really just in this one first book,
Mhm.
Yeah.
at least off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't think that there's any other throughout the 5 issues. I think that there's the only animal slash arachnid. Um, wait, are
Oh yeah, there's the spider allegory.
yeah, I
I don't
mean,
know. We're gonna mess up some literary terms this episode, in case you haven't already noticed.
Oh, we'll
yeah.
Um,
get them right next time.
no,
um,
we won't. Don't promise that.
It's a joke. It's being sarcastic as always.
Hey, I mean,
But yeah, I will. So like two issues with the formatting of this book. One is a more personal issue, and that is that like even though I bought like the collected volume, it still required me to download each issue separately and then view them separately. So I can't view them all at once. So that's why I'm focusing a lot on issue one
The
because that's
back
all
of
I
the.
can open right now. Uh,
what?
Wait, you.
issue
Okay.
two is that like the first issue of this comic gave me like a lot of like it got me actually really excited for the rest of the book. So it was like because like I see it's like oh so she's gonna use like parables from her like time in this like rebel slash tribe as like a way to tear down this theocracy, and then that doesn't happen, and it's like oh but like the axe is there and like he's gonna teach her how to use her invulnerability powers, and like that doesn't happen.
mhm.
And then it's like, oh, but there's like these, like the weird, like not the army of 12 weird robots. There are the weird, like not the bishop's son, but like the weird, like kid robots that, like when you take off their robes, are just a pile of guts and metal arms. It's like, what's the deal with that? No
Yeah.
explanation.
Also,
It's like the first issue just throws us so many like what if curveballs and then just strikes out on all of them.
also, can I piggyback on that second problem real quick? Is that like in the beginning of the first issue and the end of the last issue, her narration is like this. Like I'm not gonna get it perfectly, but something about like this isn't about like the where I end up, but it's about the people that I meet along the way, or
Who tried
something
to
like
kill
that.
me?
Oh
It,
my god, that one.
yeah, and it's like, wait, but we didn't really actually get a lot of information about who these people are, or like, I don't know. Like, I mean, actually, I feel like one of the most developed characters was the guy that sold out the axe and then was like, I mean, basically, he has the same arc as Lando Calrissian in Star Wars, actually.
He has the most
Can,
laid
can
out.
I quote what she says at the very
Yeah,
end? Because
Sure.
I was like, I
you know it's
pinpointed on
plagiarism.
that and was like, oh my god, I can't believe they just said this. Um, so waking up to realize that sometimes it becomes more about fighting than what you're fighting for. And it's about the people I met along the way and the ones I never really knew at all.
I will say, I like the first part, but then
I-
after that, like,
Yeah, like
So
I
that,
think we
that
can
I
all agree like the first issue's really good, but like the rest of the story's not.
Wait, but
I
I mean, oh,
cannot tell.
okay.
Okay, focusing on that quote though, like I cannot tell if she's being like it's not great that I'm just like focused on fighting instead of what I'm fighting for, or if I can't tell if she's like it's great, all you gotta do is focus on the fighting, not what you're fighting for, which is like not great.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
When the
maybe I
book is
missed
all
some.
about like the book is all about like this, big thing she's fighting against and what she's fighting for. She's like, it's not about me, it's what I'm fighting for. And then the end of the book is like, it's about the fighting. It's not about what I'm fighting for. I'm
Yeah,
like,
okay,
what?
okay. Actually, I agree that that definitely could be said better, but now I think I understand what they were trying to say, which I think because I interpreted it the way that you just said it. It's all like, it's just about fighting, who cares? But
Mhm.
I realize now after thinking about it for a second that it's saying like, it's not about your personal stake in it, but it's about the the fight together, kind of. I think that, because they also repeat, like, the dream, I can't
The
remember
dream.
the other
And I
things.
think
I feel like they repeated like three things as like the
mm,
little group mantra, um, whatever that
Yeah, I am
was.
the
But
land, I am the ocean, or something like that.
yeah, yeah, I am the land, I am the ocean, I am the dream, or something,
mm,
at least like
yeah,
that.
fight
Uh,
for the dream.
yeah, and fight for the dream. So I think that was what that beginning line was supposed to be about, was about fighting for the dream over fighting for your personal stake. But also that if that is, which I would understand if you're all like, no, I don't see that, then yeah, they really needed to make that more clear.
I saw it
I
more as like drawing the dichotomy between fighting for something and just fighting.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that is, but what the quote literally says is that the fight is more important than what you are fighting for.
I thought she was saying that sometimes that can happen.
Hmm. Maybe. I don't know. What were you gonna say, Shawenta?
I mean, I can see like how you would make it your interpretation where it's like, oh, you can't let your like selfish personal stakes get in the way of like something that's bigger than you. um I can see that interpretation. I could totally see if it was like that because she just wants to get her mom back is like the main thing for her because
Mm-hmm.
she's kind of a little kid in some ways. um but also, yeah, they don't like that's me just being like, oh yeah, they have the elements there to do that, but did they actually do it is another thing.
Yeah, yeah. And what was the second part of the quote too?
It's about the people I met along the way and the ones I never really knew at all.
Okay, yeah. Like, yeah, that's very poetic, but it's like, yeah, I just feel like we didn't really get to, like, so is she like basically saying that the people that she met she didn't know, or is she actually separating those into different, distinct groups? The people she
I
knows and the people she doesn't.
if I want to give this book the benefit of the doubt, I think it could be like the people that she never met, like at the end of the book when she's like leading that weird revolution, is like it's also the people who are in like New Vatican who choose to rebel that she
Mm,
has not met personally.
Mm,
That could be what that means, but also
yeah,
like if you just say that, then it seems like you don't care about the people you meet.
I don't know.
mm,
It's like because it's about the people I met along the way and the ones I never really knew at all.
mm-hmm.
So I thought I took the ones I never really knew at all to be people she knew her whole life and she never actually knew like their backstory kind of thing, like her
Yeah,
mother and
mm,
such.
Okay.
yeah. I think I interpreted it at first as like what Jake was saying was the people that she met and then the people she didn't know. But then at the end, it kind of revealed to me it was like, oh, actually, she didn't know who these people were.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's kind of what I meant. Like, you could view it as like either those two groups are together, the people that she knew but didn't know that, or there were things about them that she didn't know,
Mm-hmm.
or they could be two separate groups, people she knew and people that she didn't know. But yeah, that's kind of just interesting and weird. But it is, I think it's worse off. I think that even that ambiguity could work in the story's favor, except for like it doesn't feel like the audience really gets to know anything about the characters except for what, like, okay, I figured it out actually. We get to know what Little Bird didn't know, but we don't get to know what she did know about,
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
her
so there's no
family.
never a baseline set
Yeah,
up.
exactly.
And I think that like to go to add on to that point, to me, it's just weird how she was trapped. She was trapped like 3 months in this like cellar, but then she got out and she was like, okay, I know where I'm going. Like I know what I'm doing now. It's like what? How do you explain that? Like, how did she know? Okay, I'm gonna go find the axe. Like that's my goal.
Well, because it
It,
was confusing, but I thought that like her mom said, basically if I don't come back for you, like this is kind of what you have to do. I don't
Mm,
know if it was how clear those instructions were,
mm.
but at
I
least
definitely saw that it was there that like the mantra they keep repeating like save the North, save the world or something along those lines, like find the axe and then you'll be able to save everybody.
hmm
So, but like the way that she knew where to find the axe was a little bit. Do you like the little axe poster she has in her bunker? Did you guys
I
see
don't think
that?
I noticed
I
that.
didn't see it.
It just looks like, yeah, it looks like Captain America but with a Canadian like maple leaf. Well, it's very like propaganda poster style, or not propaganda,
Oh,
But
more
like
like
times.
hold on, wait, I want to see it now. I'm like,
it's just
this.
toward the
Yeah, which is
beginning.
weird because like if they know where the
Mm.
axe is the whole time, and like this is
Uh,
another thing. It's like this is one of those like weird evil empires that is too dumb to actually exist. Like, why is your super prison filled with all these people that you don't want out, only staffed by one guard at a time? Like, what's the why? What's the deal
Well,
with that?
I think they had more guards than that normally, but also, I mean, they have a lot of technology. I don't understand why this one dude is there. So like they tell the dude literally says that he has to leave because everybody else has left because this place is being destroyed soon, and if he doesn't get out, they're just going to destroy him along with it. So I don't think he's the only guard. It's still a really weird museum where they're just like, yeah, let's stack all of our prisoners next to each other.
I guess yeah, but then like, why doesn't Tantu go and like free the axe when they have like their whole tribe of people, and then they have like three people that you can't kill instead of two? Like that seems like that would be better to
Wait,
have like one extra person you can't kill.
Hantu wasn't at that prison. Is that what you're implying, or am I misunderstanding?
No, I mean, like why didn't
Why did
Tantu when she had
what?
like had that tribe full of people to help her? Why didn't they go
Yeah.
free the axe then?
Why does the story start there? Like, why does it have to? Like, what was
That
keeping them back this entire time?
right. Yeah, that is a good point. They don't set that up at all. Like, yeah, because like, yeah, why? Basically, she says tell him hope exists, and it turns out that like there's a place called Hope that like is underground and hides all the resistance members and stuff.
It's a really
But
generic name.
yeah, but yes, but like basically that kind of activates him because he thinks that the war was essentially lost, I think, too. But
yeah.
and I mean, of course he would too, though, because like it's like
He's been in
no,
prison for
nobody, yeah, nobody
decades.
broke you out until now. I
He
guess
broke himself out,
yeah.
not to mention.
That is a good
Also,
point. No.
the whole thing at the beginning with him is like she's being, little bird's being beat up by the guard or whatever, and then he breaks himself out. But they played this panels in such a way I thought that it was gonna be like because little bird gets his axe first and then she puts it off to the side and she's going to figure out a way to get him out using the guard's arm that she stole,
Mm.
which how did she get that arm? Why does it have my arm, says the guard when he wakes up. Just has the arm. But okay, so the part there where like the guard picks up the axe to hit little bird with it, I think, and then the axe literally smashes through his prison window, is like, don't touch her. And I thought it was going to be like, oh, he only cares about the axe because he just saw, the guard pick up the axe.
Oh, yeah, I get that.
Wait, you think that?
No, I
Well,
don't
no,
get anything interesting.
That could have been neat.
she
Yeah.
thought that that was the axe's motivation. Not that it is, but that's what thought it was going to be. Not
Mm,
like the audience was set up to think that he cared about Little Bird, but really he just cared about his axe. But
Because little
oh,
bird's
I
getting
see.
beat up before he like breaks out. He's finally like, okay, well, they're
yeah.
picking up the axe. I better break out, I
Gotcha. I,
guess.
I
It's like
see what
it's
you mean.
okay if they beat up this little girl, but not if they kill this little girl.
I mean, maybe
To
she
be
can hold her own.
to
You
be
gotta
fair,
see.
does he know who she is?
I doubt it.
Maybe?
No.
I
How
don't
does
think
he
so.
find out that she's like his granddaughter?
She
Yeah.
tells him. That's how he finds out.
Does she?
She tells him. She's like, "You're my grandfather, aren't you?"
Oh man.
That doesn't mean he figures it out that moment.
Yeah.
I
Because
guess
you could
maybe
just
we
say
do.
whatever. He doesn't know that she's telling the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, it probably kind of becomes evident when it's all like, we're both like just taking bullets. Okay.
Mhm.
I guess that's.
Oh, that's another thing that makes me upset about like issue 1, where it's like, because Little Bird tells Axe, like, after they fight off the army of 12, and it's like the Axe seems to be invincible. Little Bird says, "Hey, you're invincible," and then the Axe says, "That's not how it works," implying that they'll tell us how it works. And then you know what doesn't happen for the next 4 issues? They don't tell us how it works.
And then she just gets shot in the neck by somebody, a sniper, and then knocked out, because that's how we move to next scenes. You gotta
Mhm.
knock the main character out. That's like my main problem with the whole thing is totally the fact that like, well, they're gonna get shot again. This character's gonna get shot again. Thank goodness they're immortal, but not really. But they're immortal. So like, do we care if they get super hurt?
Mhm.
Like, is this gonna hinder them or not? I guess we'll get told if it will. Like,
Yeah, that's just this comic's version of like Fade to Black, is just like horribly injure a main character, so they have to black out to a weird dream sequence.
that's like, oh my god, there's so many games where if you like speed read them, you see that like, oh, and then they get knocked out, and you're like, okay, next setting, we're gonna go somewhere new. And then, oh, they get knocked out, next chapter.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
bad.
yeah, that is like a very bad trope too of video games and just some fiction in general. Is all like, your characters has amnesia, so you can just imprint
Oh, my
right
head
on them.
hurts. I've gotta fall over. And the next scene, or next
Uh,
setting.
Mm.
yeah. Also, to answer your question from earlier, Talon, it says right here, this map leads to where the axe is being held. Tell him hope exists. So she has a map.
Oh, okay.
She knows where to go.
Gotcha.
She's probably learned tracking skills up to this age for like, how to read a map and go places with it.
Gotcha.
So that makes sense at least. One thing explained in this book. But yeah.
So what did you guys like about the book?
Well,
I thought that's what we were talking about this whole time.
Got off track there.
Yeah, as I said at the beginning of the program, I like kind of the bones of the story, and I like the some of the themes that I think that it's trying to impart on the reader. But yeah, that is it. Also, I was just looking at the super prison, and there's like, I just zoomed in for the first time. There's like just a big head guy. Like, I don't know how
They
to.
all die.
I mean, they do all die, but I'm just like, how
Just...
did that get created? It's a guy with glasses, and he just has a big head, and then his body is just like a floating like little like tentacle thing, I guess. And
It's Baby MODOK.
it's
I
Baby
don't.
MODOK.
I wish like. Okay, so things that I like about this book, the first issue. Otherwise, I guess okay. I like the art because I'm a big sucker for gore, and this book has gore, so I like that. But other than that, I like the first issue. But that doesn't mean there aren't problems. Like why? Like I understand why the axe is in the super prison, but like why is everybody else Like, are these people who like
Are they
didn't
all
fit
that
in?
useless?
Like, are they like threats on the level of the axe, or like why are they around? Like, why are they in prison? Why aren't they in the New Vatican or whatever? Do they
Well,
just look weird? Like, what's
not
the?
not to mention the fact that like if they are like as threat worthy as the axe, then like Little Bird just focusing on the axe and being like, "Yay, best thing I got out." Anyway, the rest of those are dead. Don't care about them. They're useless to us. I don't know. Maybe they would have been evil or something.
To be fair, though, she was only told to find the axe. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
it's,
there is that, like, she's a kid, and so it's all
yeah,
like, oh, like, gave her one mission, but it's also, then why did her mom give her that one mission, you know?
yeah. Well, because it was her
Why wasn't it
father's.
just break everybody out, like so that the Vatican has to deal with everybody?
Yeah. I mean,
And
maybe.
then, but the axe is your goal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, hmm. I am hard pressed to find something that I like about this book. Um,
I just remembered what we were supposed to be talking about. What we
Yeah.
like about this book.
I'm gonna say it has action, so yay. Um, I like the twist at the end where it turns out that it's not Little Bird who was killed, and I think I'm gonna leave it at that.
Yeah, also, okay, real quick sidetrack on that. I honestly didn't even realize that somebody was killed. I was all like, "What happened?"
Yeah.
And
I
then
thought
we got to the next issue, and I was like, "Wait, when did the boy die? When did that happen?"
Right. They didn't even explain that at all.
Yeah,
They just skipped that.
I felt very smart when like I was reading it and I saw that the guard had the razor, and I'm like, oh, they're gonna shave the person with the long hair. But the only reason they would do that is so that they would be interchangeable with the person who doesn't already have long hair.
Yeah.
So they're gonna do the switch. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's what they're doing. And then they did it, and I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
I feel clever.
The thing is, I have so much trouble with like that twist because I mean, yeah, it was like shown there, but I feel like even though they're twins, he's not doing too great health wise, isn't he? So like,
Like,
it's
yeah, how
also
did
like
that
he wears a
ever
mask
work?
normally.
You
He
know,
wears a mask normally, and now he's just fine.
yeah, he somehow, like, when he showed up to her like in prison, he was like all fine and dandy, and I don't get that.
Just
But
applied
okay.
makeup for the day, I guess.
Yeah,
But the
I guess,
yeah,
like,
I can see that actually.
there's a lot of
Show
dumb
it.
stuff with that twist. Because, like,
do a like quick back shot or something of like her helping out or something, applying the makeup. I don't know, something.
like, let's say that post execution, she like takes his place for like the day before the execution, because like there has to be some time between like the last time they meet and like when they go to the execution. So like, does she just like hang out, not knowing all of this guy's like relationships with all the people in the Capitol, and then just like sneak off at the end post execution? Because like that kid doesn't have just free reign all over the place. Because he's the bishop's kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Okay,
he
to be
should
fair
be
though,
recognizable.
that there's the previous when they first meet is literally because he just sneaks off somewhere and just like sneaks off onto a ship.
True.
Which like I mean they were at a different city, I guess. I don't know. It's a different setting. But like it has happened before. He has gotten away. But yeah, I mean I've said that already. Like I think there's a lot of parts where it's just like works out, happened because believe us, it happened. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now.
the nuts and bolts of that last twist just do not make any sense.
as compared to all the other twists,
Okay.
it's the best twist in my opinion.
Yeah.
It is technically the best because all the other ones have like zero build. Like the Axe's old friend betraying him to then unbetray him in the end.
I knew
Like,
that was gonna happen. She's like, oh.
I wish you'd found your conscience like 2 issues earlier, and you could have this like super cool dude on your team. Now you're just stuck with this like weird drill car full of explosives.
Yeah, I mean, it was Lando. It was Lando from Star Wars. I mean, even up to getting somebody like trapped in a block of stuff. So back on to the discussion though. Yeah, so I agree. That was my favorite twist, even though I didn't even catch the twist.
I will be honest. So like after the twist, I kind of just checked out. The rest of the book, I was just like, I just need to finish it. Like,
Yeah, I mean, not a lot happens in issue 5. Like,
Other than the like main villain dying for some
Yeah.
reason.
yeah,
And then the Reverend Mother dying too, because betrayal. Everybody betrays.
yeah.
hmm
When
Oh.
did they set up this idea of killing the bishop?
okay. I don't. So, considering how everything else in this conversation has gone, I don't think you're gonna be able to help me. But can someone explain the ending, where it's like, oh, it's Little Bird like 20 years later? Like, what was she saying? I don't understand.
I mean, so she was writing her like little notes and stuff. Her biography, autobiography, and hold on, let me see. Okay, so that's the end. Yeah, and basically the bishop comes and finds her to get revenge for taking down the theocracy and killing her or his son, her brother. And then yeah, basically that's what happens. So, and it seems like, oh, that's right. So the robot guards come in behind him thinking that they were going to kill Little Bird in a similar way that the axe was killed, I think. But then the robot guards come and encircle her because it turns out that she was working with Mother Reverend. But
And then she betrays Mother Reverend.
Yes, she blows everybody up.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a neat like double cross. Like that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
But also like, how though?
Yeah, and what was Mother Reverend's like?
Yeah, what did she get out of this?
Yeah, like was she
She got a cool floating ball.
No, she already had that.
Are you sure?
I think so.
She had that since issue 1.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean getting? I thought you meant like her participation in the United Nations of America. Not
no.
teaming up with Little Bird.
They gave her the cool ball. Super monkey ball, but real.
She was above the bishop. She was the main power in the whole system. So like the only thing Little Bird could have offered her was like, yeah, I'll actually rebuild the theocracy, or I'll instate you as the power of the resistance, and then you can rebuild the theocracy. Like
I mean, she says, the Mother says that like, oh, now we can have good relations between us and Canada, which signifies that Little Bird is like a power seat of Canada.
Yes, but then like
that big bustling place.
Yeah, like the only thing that Little Bird has to offer is like the end to conflict, but it seems like the bishop could end the conflict pretty soon if
by getting rid of the seat of power.
Yeah, if Reverend Mother
Bird, I guess,
didn't like double cross him. Like what's the point?
I mean, I get that's the whole villain thing, right? Like you're a villain and somebody's like, we could double cross them, and you're like, oh. We could. I like doing that. I'm a villain. And then so you do it. But because you're a villain, that's the karma. You get double crossed too by the good guys.
But that's not reasonable villain thinking. That's like 1980s action movie villain thought. Which is like, I just love double crossing so much. I'm just gonna double cross everybody as soon as I can. Like, why though?
Yeah. Yeah, why? Honestly, like, so, okay, so one thing that we haven't mentioned about the writer of this book is that she
He.
is, oh, he's, right, thank you. He is a movie producer and
Mhm.
director.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
and
is he?
yes.
He produced two movies, um, and they're kind of like noir, detective noir kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, then he loves to double cross.
Yeah.
You gotta
Well,
double
yeah, okay.
cross.
um, yeah, and also though I was gonna say that I feel like this book almost to me feels like not like it could be, but in the same vein as like album like music videos, like those ones where it's like the stories just don't really like make
So
total
you
sense.
mean very flashy action sequence with cool visuals.
Yeah. and a
Oh, okay.
general theme of revolution,
Mm.
but not
I
actually
mean,
really a lot of like understanding what
I
that means.
didn't get to say what I liked about the book, but
Oh.
that's pretty much yeah. Cool visuals.
Oh yeah.
Sure wish they met. Sure wish they
Mm.
added up to something.
Mm-hmm. Here's a question. So this is Darcy Van Poelgeest's first comic. Does that explain a lot of our criticisms?
I mean, first published one. I mean, I don't know how much he's out there like making stories, so I can't really pass judgment on where he is in the process.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean it's like
Maybe it's. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, you go ahead, Jake, actually. I'll
Maybe it's a naive take, but I feel like if you are a established auteur in a certain medium and you want to expand into a different medium, then you should surround yourself with people who like understand the medium better than you do, and they can help you translate your ideas from one medium into the other. And I feel like that didn't happen, but it should
Mm.
have.
Yeah, okay, so that actually, I'm glad that I let you go first, Jake, because that feeds into what I was gonna say, which is that in the interview that we also read about this book, they ask some questions of the artist, and like they say that like basically they were on like hours long phone calls, multiple hours long, and I can't remember what this artist was necessarily known for doing, but I mean his work obviously speaks for itself. It's pretty good. So I would say that he knows comics pretty well. Um, and like so in like perhaps it was for the press release, like, but I would think, or it sound the way they made it sound in the interview was that like these were enjoyable phone calls. They were both having fun talking to
Mm-hmm.
each other about all of these ideas and stuff. I assume it
Maybe they
wasn't.
had too much fun.
Yeah.
That I was gonna say, there's literally one of the parts I remember of the interview where they're like, we pretty much, I was told I could do whatever I want, and I was encouraged to do as much as possible. So, maybe they were a little too, that's a bad word, but like enabling of each other.
Yeah, because like when we did Serious House on Serious Earth, like there were so many like departures that the artist took, and the
Mm-hmm.
author like continually had to like rein them back in to do something reasonable. And I feel like that should have probably happened more,
Yeah.
but the opposite way.
Mm.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, I think that an editor would have really helped. And I mean, I'm sure that there probably was an editor on this, but like, whatever they were doing, they were just like, just keep doing what you're
They had
doing.
an editor.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had an editor. I remember reading that somewhere.
I mean, yeah, I would expect to, like it's a pretty
Here it
common
is.
job.
They said it's a fever dream is a perfect description. We put zero regulations on ourselves if it made the story better. If I wanted to draw something extra crazy, Darcy always had my back. Da da da, it keeps going.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
like
Oh, so that's the editor.
no, that's
Oh.
the artist
Hmm.
talking. So like
Right.
zero regulations, which
Yeah.
isn't always a good thing.
Isn't. Yeah. Because here's what I'll say too. Like, 'cause this, obviously comic book editing and video editing are different, but an editing teacher here at the university, in one of his classes, he said that like the most important uh, edit is going to be editing for emotion. So even if it doesn't quite make sense, that's going to be like the most important to your story. If like you want to make sure that the emotion stays, but then after that, there's a whole list of like a numbered list of what the most important thing is for your edit. And I feel like sure they might have gotten the emotions, but then they lost any or coherency throughout the story. So it was like they needed to edit that back where it was like you need to have some balance between things.
Okay.
And because like if you are feeling lost and you're not supposed to be feeling lost, then you're no longer feeling the emotion that the characters are feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think back to when I like really felt understood what the characters were feeling at a certain moment.
Yeah, it's like just like things are happening and it's a
Ooh,
little
they keep
confusing.
happening.
Yeah, and they keep
Boy,
happening.
do they happen. Like, through all 5 issues of this book. I will say, Fever Dream is probably a bad descriptor for something which is supposed to be like a narrative experience. Because, like, Fever
They're happy
Dreams,
with the
in my
description.
experience, have never been, like, that ordered or followed, like, rising action, climax, denouement, like,
So
the
then-
order of a story.
Would you say it's an apt description for this comic?
Technically, yes, but it is
Yeah.
not a compliment.
I mean, that's
I
the other.
usually don't use it as a compliment. I'm like, it's a little bit like a fever dream.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also I'll say too that I mean, so this is something that's much more common to describe things positively that are a little bit weird like this is that Darcy he described or well no the interviewer actually asked about being non-linear and Darcy said that I never write linearly.
Okay, but the answer was like, I never write linearly. I really thought about how the characters got up to this point, which is like you're just deciding on the backstory. Yeah, like that's what people do.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Like, it doesn't have to be linear, but it should make sense. Like,
Mhm.
Memento is written and, like, seen non-linearly, but it still makes sense.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that, and that's kind of what I was trying to bring up though, is just that like it's like yeah, this doesn't make sense, and it's like I don't know the way that like so flippantly saying I never write linearly. It's all like you can like come in with like starting in the action and then going to the exposition a lot in your stories or or mixing it up however you want to however you see fit but like completely like just disregarding time all the time just sounds not good. Not a good choice.
God, it makes me think of, I think I saw recently, I think it's David Lynch, where he was like, I'm not a writer. You don't need a story. All you need is 70 note cards with like events happening and then put them together and you have a movie. That's what I do. And I was like, huh, that makes a lot of sense for your movies.
That explains a lot about David Lynch. Just like
I mean, I just think that's how some people write, I guess. Like, they're like, cool event, now let's put them in order how I want. Like,
I mean, I'll tell you.
I mean,
that
sometimes
sounds a
that's how
lot
writing
easier.
goes.
but then you can use that as a basis, but I definitely, like, you need to start actually creating some bridges in between then.
Yeah.
Wait,
I think
David
that's what's
Lynch?
missing.
Yes.
As in, like,
Pretty sure,
Twin
yeah.
Peaks?
Yes. Twin
Okay.
Peaks.
Oh my goodness, Twin Peaks is. I still haven't finished Twin Peaks. It is a disaster.
Mulholland Drive.
I haven't seen Mulholland Drive yet. I haven't finished Twin Peaks yet either, but I've seen some of it, and I watched Eraserhead once. That was a bad idea. That was such an unenjoyable experience. um. Anyway, though.
I thankfully have not seen anything that he has ever done.
But like again, it is like
Yeah.
it is the job of the people around the crazy person to make it a like cohesive experience. You know what I mean?
But
Like,
I mean, I think we can agree, like,
yeah.
it's
I
still,
like that.
like, they definitely described it as surreal sci-fi, and I was like, I can see how that is. But, so it has a lot of elements that are, like, really interesting and could be used for, like, a good story. It's just, maybe it needs to be chopped up more and, like, thought about more, filled in the cracks, I don't know.
Yeah. Also, I was gonna say during the first issue, and technically these things held out through, but I think that as the series went on, this comparison became less. But when I was first reading the first issue, I was like, oh, this is like feels a little bit like Doridoro we read earlier
Oh.
in the show, in that like surrealist, like, instead of magic though it's technology, but like very surreal and kind of like things happen and what's going on, you know? And also the art style too a little bit. Obviously they're different, but like some parts of it.
I don't know if I agree with you there, but I don't know enough to say why.
I can see how you would like draw like the kind of like similarities. Um, I mean, yeah, that's about it.
So
I don't
I don't.
agree.
Okay.
I
That's the
would.
thing. Yeah, I
Okay.
don't like. I don't agree that I feel like it's that similar because I didn't think of it. But yeah, I can see how you did.
I mean, I would agree definitely just like on basis of art style because both art styles, even though they are very different, they provide like a sense of texture to the world.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like in Dorohedoro, it was like a lot of details to like the background and characters' clothing, and in this, like because it's in color, it's a lot of like extra lines, and I don't know how exactly you explain it. I'm not a very artistic person, but like it feels like it is something that like you could reach out and touch.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah. I think I would that is where I was going as far as comparison to the art styles.
I
I'd say
will say.
actually.
Oh,
I
there
was
you go.
gonna say I don't actually super like the art style as far as like, but I think it's on purpose. I'm like, it's one of those art styles where it's like a little bit unpleasant to look at the people's faces, and like there's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of texture in there, which makes their face look really weirdly stippled, like
Yeah.
stippling onto the little dots and whatever.
That is exactly why I don't like the art.
Okay. Yeah. I think I definitely see. I didn't remember to mention this, but yeah, I think I was earlier commenting on like a technical aspect, like wow, this is really like detailed in a way, so like it's not necessarily enjoyable to look at, but it's like I can see the effort that went into this and it's purposeful and it's not just like, you know, like oh sure you spent a lot of effort on this but it's bad, it's
Yeah.
like no, okay.
I think I think I'm like where I'm like, oh man, you spent a lot of time on this. I don't enjoy it though, which like makes me
Fair
a little
enough.
bit sad. But I totally think it's like I think you almost said this earlier with like music video or like heavy metal cover kind of style,
Hmm.
um, with oh my god.
Okay. And anyway,
So yeah, I mean, I can elaborate a little bit on the like music video. Like I'm thinking of like like
Could you like
if
wait
you've ever
until
heard
I'm
of like
not talking?
uh
Come here. Come here.
Rush 2112 is like a famous like rock opera kind of album that's like and it comes with like an accompanying like story that's like that kind of thing.
Hmm.
So that's kind of what I imagine. And also a little bit, also I'm sure that this had its own inspiration, but recently I watched a Bob's Burgers episode where like they went to like a planetarium where it was like, they were showing this like basically light show on top of this famous rock album. And so
Hmm.
that's also what I was kind of imagining too. But all of that
Gotcha.
stuff.
That's the
um,
thing though, like I don't enjoy like a lot of those like gritty or like viscera kind of style of music covers.
hmm.
Like even if I enjoy the song, I'm like, oh, I don't want to look at that album.
Hmm.
So
Right. Yeah. I guess
I
that's
think,
that's a good
yeah.
point too. Is like, and something that I hadn't considered when making that comparison was that the idea that I was kind of imagining was more like, you know, 80s rock, but you're right that a lot of these visuals are much more like late 80s heavy metal, where it's like, ooh. So yeah, it's kind of like I didn't think about that, where it's like the actual visuals are not the early rock where it was like laser light show, but it does have that same kind of feeling as far as the story, where it's like very kind of like simplistic, but not.
Well, that's like
If I
why
knew
I don't.
more about rock of that era, I would be able to say something.
That's all right.
But yeah,
um,
again, that's like why I'm like I don't like how it looks, but I also feel like that's intentional, so
Hmm.
can't
yeah.
fault it for that.
Mhm.
Yeah. I will say, this is more of a personal thing. I did not appreciate the use of Christianity in this book.
Mm.
I would have said like,
A unique and fresh take.
yeah.
I'm talking about what they did, like, because I mean it has been done quite a lot now.
Mhm. I will say I think I said I thought of this as I was reading it, but I was like, I think it would have been really interesting if you made the protagonist like a Christian, as in like I don't agree with what these people are doing. Like they're clearly using
Mm.
God's word incorrectly,
Mhm.
Like,
and so
wouldn't
I'm
that have been
fighting against that.
interesting? Like her at some point being like able to see or like seeming like she's going with it at some point, and but then finding the certain faults in it.
Mm.
I don't know because it's definitely like they are doing Christianity. I mean, it's very clearly crosses and like uh
Mm-hmm.
the whole setup. But it's taken to such an absurd level. It's definitely supposed to be like not the word maybe not satire, but
I would say
um
it's bordering on satire.
Mm.
Like even if they
okay.
don't mean it to be, like as a reader, like to me, it read as like bordering on satire.
I think the problem was like my favorite parts of it was like, oh my god, those robot guards are so cool. It's like I don't think I'm supposed to be like looking at the villains and being like,
Mm.
yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Mm.
Um, it's crazy though.
Gotcha.
I enjoy how crazy the lengths it goes to with like, but yeah, I don't know if they really are making real world equivalencies if they're
Mm.
like taking it to such absurdity.
Yeah, and that is another thing too that I like, cause and I think Kalon, your idea, like it wouldn't. That is with. Or sorry. Okay, let me try to say that in a more concise way, because my brain just like started spinning. Um, Basically, what I'm trying to say though is that your idea would be not what this book is. Like I
Yeah.
think it would really change it, because I think what by making it the real Catholic Church, or I mean, obviously it's not the real Catholic, but
Mm.
in this universe it is.
Mm.
Um, they're basically, and in the fact that there's like the main character is like Canadian Indigenous. It's
Mm.
like trying to say like religious European settlers are the problem. They are the villains, the antagonists. And
Mm.
so it's like, and that's why I kind of wish it was more like Jake's kind of take, where it was like, kind of going with like, um, like the religious beliefs of indigenous people,
Gotcha.
wherever, wherever Little Bird is particularly from, versus like the this like Catholic Church that has gone like totally bad,
Yeah.
because I mean that is really, it's not that they're Christian, it's that they're colonizers, right? They're taking over the land of the dream.
Crusaders.
They're crusaders, yeah. They're this new Vatican that is like, the old Vatican was back there, just stay there.
Yeah, I had some. As I was reading this, I was like, I don't like the use of Christianity, and I was like, this is like, typical modern media, like. But then I was like, before I jump into any conclusions, like I actually want to know like what the writer was thinking doing this, and that's what prompted me to look for the interview. And in that, the interviewer asked this question that Little Bird references historical events like the Inquisition, Manifest Destiny, and in its depictions. What inspired the development of the imperial theocracy, and how topical would you say it is? And Poelgeest was like, there's a legacy of abuse and of church and government working together to convert non-Europeans into good little Christians, and thus losing their identity in the process. And then Bertram was like, there's trouble with dogma. Like that's what he was saying. Like dogma is the way to go. And so to me, reading that, like I was expecting a little bit more like them saying, no, we just don't like Christianity.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think that's where they were gonna go.
Yeah. Reading that, I'm like, okay, I can see where you're coming from.
I mean, yeah, there's non-European Christians. But like, yeah, the thing with dogma, ruling by fear, like if you don't do this, then
well, yeah, all sorts of things. You'll go to the not heaven.
I just have like trouble. I mean, I guess it could be done better is the whole thing. Like the Manifest Destiny, the Inquisition, this like the fact that she's indigenous even.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, she references like stuff like, I guess, subsistence kind of style, like the hunting and such and that. But it doesn't ever feel truly indigenous to me. I don't know. Like it never feels like it goes all in for that. Like I guess I could see, especially with like the fact that the grandfather's just Axeman, who looks like a typical like hockey player.
Well, he's Canadian.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, just like he. I mean, is he supposed to be a settler who is like not a colonizer, who is willing to like ingrain himself with?
Is he like the John Smith Pocahontas?
I mean, their mom does look much more like indigenous. She has darker skin, but she also has like piercings, if I remember right. It's like, I don't know. It's hard to like, because once again, the foundation isn't there. Like, is this an alternate world? Is this our world?
Yeah.
Like, what point are we at? And so, how far away from? Did these events already happen? Is history repeating itself, or is this their version kind of style? I definitely can see with like him saving the baby, Bishop saving the baby, that is, the mother of Little Bird, taking her in, and very much that being kind of like boarding school like style conversion.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
It's those little things there, which like they go so ham with like the like Vatican and all that. Like, why not go a little bit stronger with the other side too? Not to like do absurdity levels, but just like so it doesn't feel so ambiguously not like they could be anyone. They could just be escaped, like people who don't vibe with this Christianity kind of thing.
Yeah, like maybe I missed it, but when did the Pope roll out like the robot soldiers? Because like I didn't catch that part in like modern Catholicism.
It's coming.
The perfect Christians.
Yeah.
The ones that will
I
just
mean,
do
yeah, and
whatever
also
I
like
say.
Yeah, with the like genetic thing, and then pulling in the genetic thing. So I don't think I got a chance to say this, but you were talking about the fact that if the new Vatican made these like genetic superhumans or whatever, and because of that, but it didn't turn out right or something, like they're supposed to be good Christians. I liked that idea that the new Vatican did that because it goes to show that the things that they considered being part of good Christian was potentially helping out in like this crusade. Like of all the things to care about, oh, let's be superhuman. Let's have
Mm-hmm.
strength that we
Mm,
can physically exert on other people.
Mm-hmm.
good point. I do
Yeah.
I do actually like that a little bit now that you're like I just wish that things were more clear in this book. It's like I said
Mm-hmm.
before, I think that there are good things in there, but it's just not clear. And
Yeah.
it's like that would be something that I would have liked if it was more explicit.
Now, so also in that interview, Darcy was asked, "How would you describe Little Bird?" And he described it as a story of a young girl caught in a war she can't fully understand, and the struggle to find her own identity within that. If she's not fighting against an evil theocratic empire that wants her land and soul, then who is she? I don't feel like that was explored at all.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think that we ever saw her not fighting against the evil theocratic empire.
We didn't even see her question, like, why am I here?
Yeah.
I mean, we did see her run to not fight in the first issue, but like that's not really your point.
Not to mention the fact that, like, again, with the whole, like, manifest destiny, colonizer kind of thing, they want the land. I'd like to see them, like, how they're using the land that's so bad or something. Like, because I sure didn't get that from the book, the fact that they specifically wanted the land. Like, yeah, of course they want the land, but, like, just tying in some of the, like, ideas they're trying to do there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like for the purposes of the book, like they want to get to the land to crush the rebellion rather than like manifest destiny. It's just like we
Mm-hmm.
need more future room for future white people to be in. Like
Yeah,
that's
why is
not
the rebellion, like, popped up at all? Like, because you need a rebellion against something big and evil.
Yeah.
Like, why?
And also like I feel like especially with all of these like technological advancements that seem like magic you would think that there would be more of an emphasis on like ecological disaster too, which like we see like some desert that like maybe isn't supposed to be desert, but or maybe that is supposed to be desert, I don't know. But it's like yeah, I would have imagined too, like as far as the land, maybe that they were like causing like pollution and stuff, and but we don't see that.
That little curse is never explained, huh? Whatever the affliction that people are getting.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Was it that the son was also afflicted with that too?
Yes, I think that was the thing, and the bishop was like pretty much concerned with getting the cure for his son
Yeah.
over the people that he was supposed to be, in
Mm-hmm.
charge of.
Yeah, I think, like, yeah, Reverend Mother's like, we should, if we find it, we should give it to the people too, because, we can't keep that back from them. They kind of really want something like that, and they're, like, not really believing in us at the moment. So it really, strengthen our power. And, of course, the bishop is like, fine.
Yeah.
But, I don't know.
Yeah, also like it that was another thing that just didn't really get explained was that like they captured okay, so let me actually ask this as a question. Was the intent of capturing Cantu and then later Little Bird to like study their blood and try to figure out the process to fix his son slash the other people that are dying?
I think it was definitely Tantu.
I
Not sure
I think
about
so because they
Little
throw
Bird.
around the like term resurrection gene
Mm-hmm.
around a little bit with zero explanation as to what that is. I guess you're just kind of like supposed to connect the dots, like, oh, that's what lets them not die all the time. Even though like it doesn't seem like resurrection, it just seems like healing.
Yeah.
But the
Okay,
It's a
so
cool
yeah,
Christian name for a thing.
Yeah.
it just
Yeah.
it just doesn't like I mean yeah it doesn't make sense to me that like you'd have to like get blood from the person that has this resurrection gene. Like he's already related to them, he has the gene. You guys need CRISPR, the gene therapy. You can just turn that gene on. You don't need other people's blood. But I mean, also I guess this universe is different because like in a very like Dracula kind of way, the bishop is like bathing in blood, but there's also like
Yeah.
little
yeah, but
It
like
looks
no
like
explanation as to like
That's
why though.
that
And
never
then like
happens
he's
again.
attended
That was
to like
cool.
those weird robots that are like all a bunch of guts under like a trench coat. Like why though? Like what's the deal?
He
Like
takes
how
out his
does
hair,
what
doesn't
part
he?
of Catholicism or Manifest Destiny is that?
It's little cherubs.
No, you know what? You know what I think? I think it was just Darcy being like, okay, we got this like Catholicism imagery. Let's just throw something in there and shake it up. Like I
Like
think
if
that's
you
it.
just want to like if you want to have a villain established moment, then like yeah, sure. Like yeah, okay. I know that this person is the villain because all of their lackeys are just a big pile of guts or weird robots. Like okay, sure. Then I can believe they're the villain. But like why though?
yeah.
well, like, wait, it was Darcy who said like, if I wanted to throw something in there, like, or was it Ian that said if I wanted to draw something?
No, Darcy. I think it was Ian. I think it
I
was
don't know. It
Ian.
seemed like they were
Okay.
both on the same page, which is like,
Yeah,
just do whatever.
from what it
Right.
sounded like,
Maybe it
like
was
they were
Ian.
both like, "Oh man, if it serves the story, I'm gonna make as much as possible, whatever I want, like this kind of thing."
Mhm.
I mean, it looks cool.
Yeah,
That stuff really
definitely.
That's the stuff that kept me going. Like, that's a cool robot.
I
Yeah,
think
like the
Something.
Army of 12 is really cool, but like,
man, I feel like I was so disoriented by the like trying to figure out what was going on. I had trouble paying attention to the cool visuals. Like I agree, looking back at them, I'm like, oh yeah, those are cool. But I was just like, next thing, I'm trying to figure this
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. Or me, I'd need to finish this book.
I mean, you
Oh, yeah.
kind of did. You
Just-
just missed the part where like the two main villains die. The last like 5 pages.
just desperately searching for the page where like everything makes sense. Because I was
Yeah.
looking for that.
I forgot when the axe died, to be honest. Like, I got to the end, I'm like, I think he died earlier.
It's really like anticlimactic how he died, or at least it seemed to me that it was anticlimactic. Because like we've only seen like the anti-regeneration beam thing once, and that was against someone that like we are told has like these regeneration powers, but like we don't really see like any proof that they have regeneration powers.
Also,
So,
Little
like-
Bird survives it, doesn't she?
No.
Isn't
she-
that the son?
Well,
goes
I think
through
they
the-
also beam her at some point, like later.
And also, yeah, no explanation as to why that undoes the regeneration or doesn't allow it to happen or whatever. Like cooks
Like
the
burning a
regeneration
witch.
gene or whatever, resurrection gene. But
Well,
like,
if you're
why?
Ash,
how?
like there's no genes left.
That's true.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
But like, then how
if your
did
DNA
it take
is
this long
evaporated.
for that to happen?
It's a very monster thing, isn't it? Like, oh, we shot him a bunch, but they survived. Let's burn them, and that works. So,
Fire.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
burn the witch.
I don't know. Okay, go ahead, Jake. If you were gonna say something.
No, I don't have. It's just another big shrug sigh. Like, I guess, sure. Like, you don't explain it, but okay.
I do have a question for Shawenta. So, why did you pick this book again?
I heard someone say, "Man, I don't like a lot of comics lately," and they're talking about comics they liked, and then they went, "But you know what comic I've been reading that's pretty good? Little Bird." I was like, "I trust your opinion." So, I don't know, maybe they only read the first issue.
Okay, so it sounds like you still trust their opinion.
No
I,
comment.
to be fair, I would recommend it if I had only read the first issue.
Ah,
Yeah.
It's it's not horrible. It just never makes sense. It never
Yeah.
comes together in a way, like, which
mhm.
is really disappointing because it is interesting to look at.
hmm
It's
Also,
interesting to think about.
yeah, and I will say, when I was reading this, there was one person that I know, like personally, that I felt like would actually, like, maybe not necessarily, like, completely enjoy this book, but they would, like, really appreciate it
Mm.
for what it is. There's one
Mm.
person, and I still like, her feelings about various media I would be inclined to trust. So I guess I'm in the same boat as you, Showinta.
I have a feeling.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Mhm.
What do you think the Pope would think if we showed him this comic?
what do you
The
think the
real
Pope
Pope.
felt about Undertale?
Does the Pope know about Undertale?
There's that famous YouTuber that met the Pope and gave him a copy of Undertale when he met him
Oh no.
Does the
to
Pope
put
know
among
how
his
to
sacred
play
gifts, probably.
computer games?
Does the Pope own a computer?
I mean, people
Is it
own a
against
computer for
their
him.
religion to read comics? Is it like false
No,
idols?
it can't be.
I'm joking, but
It was reasonable enough to believe. Oh.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. What was it that you said? Undertale. Yeah, I had no idea what that was.
Oh. It's a
video
video game.
game.
I get it.
Cute. It's a cute little pixel video game.
Oh.
But this is not about Undertale.
Yeah.
Anyway.
um. Yeah. So actually, I forgot the question that I was gonna ask.
I
So.
don't know. It's definitely one of those things where it's like it's based on actual it's supposed to be based on actual things that happened and it's trying to draw like I mean the idea that those things were bad. It's not exactly like a hot take. Um but
Oh, hot take. The comic would be these things are good. That would be a hot take. I
oh
would
boy.
No, I
Two
still
hours
I
would
would be
not be enough
interested.
for that.
Like I have morbid curiosity on
I
how
still
they
feel like
did
that's
that.
not like a super hot take because that's what
That's the
like
thing. Like, there's the two
Yeah, at
groups,
least-
isn't there? They're like, it was really great, and you're overthinking it. The other group is like bad, very
Yeah.
bad.
yeah, because I feel like this stuff was good was the take that like white people had when Manifest Destiny was happening.
Wait, do you mean the stuff? Okay, I thought Talon meant that the book itself, like the reading experience was good. Was the hot take?
No, no,
Oh, okay.
no. If the book was written as if the Inquisition was a good thing.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I mean, it's also about Manifest Destiny and like indigenous rights and whatever, and like boarding schools were around in the 90s for like indigenous people. So like, I don't think you'd have to search long to find somebody who is like, those were fine. We had them.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean there are still people who argue the benefits of colonization.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, the dumb hot take would be like it didn't matter.
Yeah.
That's like saying nothing matters. Great.
Exactly, that's the dumb hot take where it's like, yeah, nothing matters.
I mean, I guess what we are hoping for, it sounds like, is like this middle ground of nuanced, like, oh, you can clearly see where this started and why and how it got so corrupted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would be more interested in that than I was in this book. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I
That's
am
probably the
mad
nice way to end it.
because I spent $14.99 on this, and it was free on Hoopla.
Well, that'll show you. Check out your local library. That's the next PSA. Go to your local library.
That is what you get for doubting Hoopla.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
For those not in the know listening, Hoopla is a online service that you can connect your library card to and get numerous kinds of digital media checked out. So, I think that is about all the time that we have for the show. Catch us next week, Monday, 5 to 7. Until then, I'm Cody.
I'm Taylon.
I'm Jacob.
And I'm Shawinta.
And we will see you next time.
Thank you for listening. You can catch our show Mondays, 5 to 7 p.m. on KSUA 91.5 FM, the People's Radio, in Fairbanks, Alaska. Our Facebook is where you can view some of our earliest shows, as well as receive updates for when we go live on KSUA, when a new episode is uploaded to YouTube, and when a new podcast episode is uploaded. Our handle is It's Comic Time. You can listen to us in podcast format on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Podbean as the Comic Panel Podcast. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at _comic_panel and follow us on Twitter at the Comic Panel 1. Have a great rest of your day.